In the hushed corridors of history, where empires rise and fall, the fate of a nation can often be traced back to the voice of a single individual. For ancient Israel, that voice belonged to Samuel, a prophet, a judge, and a kingmaker, whose life was inextricably woven into the very fabric of his people's destiny. His journey is not just a tale of divine calling, but a profound story of leadership, loss, and the enduring power of faith in a world teetering on the edge of change. The story begins not with a roar, but with a whisper in the dead of night. In the sacred but spiritually dim confines of the temple at Shiloh, a young boy named Samuel served under the tutelage of the aging priest Eli. It was an era of moral decay, where the lamps of faith had grown faint. But in that silence, a voice called out, piercing the darkness. Young Samuel, awakened from his sleep, at first mistook it for his master. But this was no mortal call. It was the voice of God, anointing him for a purpose far greater than he could imagine. In that moment, a divine light broke through the gloom, setting Samuel apart and marking the beginning of his sacred mission. A new prophet had risen in Israel, destined to guide his people through the turbulent waters ahead. As Samuel grew, so did his authority, and he became the last and greatest of Israel's judges. Yet the nation grew restless. They looked at the surrounding kingdoms with their powerful monarchs and clamored for a king of their own, a visible symbol of strength to lead them in battle. This demand was a turning point, a rejection of God's direct rule, and it pierced Samuel's heart. He felt the immense weight of their choice, a departure from the covenant that had defined them. With a heavy spirit, he warned them of the burdens a king would impose, of taxes, of conscription, of servitude. But their cries were relentless. Reluctantly, fulfilling the will of both God and the people, Samuel anointed Saul, a tall and commanding figure from the tribe of Benjamin, as Israel's first king. The age of judges was over, and a new, uncertain era had dawned. The prophet's sorrow soon proved prophetic. King Saul, once a promising leader, began to stray from God's commands, his reign marred by impatience and disobedience. The bond between Samuel and Saul, once one of mentorship, fractured under the strain of a king's pride. The breaking point came after Saul defied a divine order, and Samuel was tasked with delivering a message of unimaginable gravity. God had rejected Saul as king. The confrontation was a moment of national crisis and profound personal grief. We see a desperate king clinging to the hem of the prophet's robe, and a sorrowful Samuel, his heart breaking for the man he had anointed, turning away forever. This painful separation mirrored the nation's own spiritual fracture, a kingdom divided against itself. Yet even in the shadow of this great sorrow, a new hope was stirring. Guided once more by the divine voice, Samuel's journey took him to the small town of Bethlehem. There he found his grief transformed into renewed purpose. He was sent to the house of Jesse to anoint a new king, one chosen not for his stature or might, but for his heart. As he looked upon the youngest son, a shepherd boy named David, Samuel saw the future of Israel. In a quiet, intimate ceremony, he anointed the boy who would become the nation's greatest king, ushering in a golden age of prosperity and faith. In the hopeful gaze of the serene older prophet, we see the dawn of a new era, a promise of redemption, and a legacy secured. The story of a nation was guided by his voice. Through Samuel's journey of faith, sorrow, and ultimate hope, the destiny of Israel was forged, leaving an indelible mark on the pages of history. If you were inspired by Samuel's journey, subscribe and share to explore more stories that shaped our world.